Let's talk about high blood pressure, but probably not in the way you're used to hearing about it. Today, we're going to challenge, well, pretty much everything you've ever been told. You see, this isn't about just managing a condition for the rest of your life. It's about understanding the real cause and the incredible possibility of actually reversing it. Wow. Okay, let that sink in for a second. Almost everything you've been told is wrong. That's not just some random claim. That comes from Dr. Claire Whitmore, a cardiac surgeon, someone who has literally spent decades with her hands inside people's chests, looking at damaged arteries up close. And her experience? It's the whole reason we're doing this explainer. It's built on a radical idea. We've been looking at hypertension completely backward. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll bust a huge myth about blood pressure and get into the three real root causes. After that, we'll lay out a clear two-part path to reversal. And finally, we'll talk about the choice this gives you when it comes to your own health. All right, let's get right into it. Section 1, the great hypertension myth. This is all about why staring at those numbers on the blood pressure machine, well, it's causing us to miss the bigger picture entirely. You know the story we've all heard, right? High blood pressure is basically a plumbing problem. Too much water in the pipes. So what do they tell you? Cut the salt, take a water pill, a diuretic, and that's that. But what if that's not the real issue? The reality, what surgeons see with their own eyes, is that it's not a plumbing problem, it's a structural problem. The pipes themselves, your arteries, are literally damaged. They're getting stiff, and they don't need less water, they need cellular level repair. Okay, so if it's not a plumbing issue, then what on earth is causing all this damage to our arteries? Well, it turns out it boils down to three major root causes, and these are things that, honestly, you probably won't hear about in a typical doctor's visit. First up, we have something called glycocalyx destruction. Now, that's a mouthful, I know, but think of it this way. Inside every single one of your arteries, there's this super thin, super slippery protective layer. It's like a Teflon coating for your blood vessels. Its job is to keep things flowing smoothly. But when that Teflon gets worn away, the raw wall of the artery is left exposed, and that's where the trouble begins. So, what's powerful enough to strip away this critical lining? It's a list of familiar foes, things a lot of us are dealing with every day. Big spikes in blood sugar, especially after meals. That low-grade chronic inflammation that just simmers in the background. Smoking, of course, and something called oxidative stress. All of these act almost like a corrosive acid on that delicate lining, just eating it away and kicking off the damage. All right, root cause number 2 is arterial stiffness. And this is a big one. It's not just about how much pressure is in the system, it's about the health of the pipes themselves. Healthy arteries are supposed to be flexible, like a rubber hose, but with this condition, they start to become stiff and rigid, almost like old, brittle concrete pipes. And there's a clue on your blood pressure reading. It's called pulse pressure. That's just the gap between your top and bottom number. The wider that gap gets, the more it can be a sign that your arteries are losing their flex. So how does a flexible artery turn into concrete? It's a few things happening at once. First, calcium starts building up in the walls of the artery, where it absolutely should not be. Then, the naturally stretchy fibers in the artery wall get replaced with stiff, tough collagen. And get this, the smooth muscle cells inside the artery actually start to think they're bone cells. It's wild. And the result of all this is often that weird blood pressure reading we talked about, a really high top number, but a surprisingly low bottom one. And that brings us to our third hidden cause. And honestly, this one is a total game changer. It's called the insulin kidney lock. Have you ever wondered why cutting back on salt just doesn't seem to move the needle for some people? This is why. When your insulin levels are constantly high, which is super common, it basically puts your kidneys in a headlock. It forces them to hang on to sodium and water no matter how little salt you're actually eating. It artificially keeps your blood volume and your blood pressure jacked up. So when you put all this together, you arrive at a really important realization. The pills we're prescribed, they're really good at one thing, managing the number. They bring the pressure down. But here's the catch. They're not designed to fix any of the three root causes we just talked about. They don't repair the glycocalyx, they don't reverse arterial stiffness, and they don't break that insulin kidney lock. They're managing a symptom, not fixing the problem. But here's the good news, and it's really good news. That damage, it's not necessarily permanent. It can be fixed. And that's what brings us to the actual path to reversal, starting with part 1, how to restore the arteries themselves. Okay, so first things first, we have to rebuild that Teflon coating, the glycocalyx. And it's a 3-step process. Step 1, stop the assault. That means getting those post-meal blood sugar spikes under control. Step 2, Give your body the building blocks it needs to do the repairs. We're talking about things like specific compounds found in seaweed. And step 3, protect the new lining. You do that by flooding your system with antioxidants from foods like berries and dark leafy greens. But does this stuff actually work in the real world? Absolutely. Just look at Thomas's story. He's 70. By focusing on restoring his glycocalyx, his vessel flexibility tripled in just 3 months. And after 6 months, he was completely off both of his blood pressure meds. That's not management, that's reversal. All right, next up, how do we deal with those concrete pipes? We have to actively decalcify them. And the secret weapon here is a very specific team of nutrients: vitamin K2, vitamin D, and magnesium. Think of them like a little logistics crew. K2 is the foreman, telling calcium to get out of the arteries. Vitamin D is the driver, taking that calcium and delivering it to the bones. And magnesium is like the traffic cop, keeping the vessels relaxed and preventing new traffic jam. And again, does it work? Check out Margaret's story. At 73, after a year, her aortic calcium score, a measure of how bad the buildup is, actually went down by 15%. That's huge. It shows that even really established calcification isn't a life sentence. As a result, she was able to cut her evocations in half. Just incredible. So, we've talked about fixing the pipes directly, but that's only half the battle. Now we need to get into part 2 of the solution, unlocking the body's own systems that are designed to keep those pipes healthy in the first place. Step 3 is all about restoring nitric oxide. What's that? It's basically your body's built-in vessel relaxer. It tells your arteries to open up and chill out. And we can boost our levels in 3 cool ways. First, you feed the enzyme that makes it with the right vitamins. Second, you can actually stimulate production with some super simple hand grip exercises. And third, and this is amazing, you can get more of it just by breathing through your nose. And don't underestimate how powerful these simple things are. We're talking about a 10 to 15 point drop in your systolic blood pressure, that top number, from just 8 weeks of doing that hand grip training. I mean, that's an effect that's right up there with some prescription drugs. It's truly remarkable. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, step 4, breaking that insulin kidney lock. How do we do it? A big part of it is focusing on when you eat, using strategies like time-restricted eating. You combine that with some resistance training a few times a week and add in a few key foods. The goal is simple: make your body listen to insulin better, which finally tells the kidneys it's okay to let go of all that extra salt and water. Okay, so after all of that, after understanding the myths, the root causes, and the path to reversal, it really brings us to a fork in the road. It's about a fundamental choice we all have to make in how we think about high blood pressure. And this table just lays it all out so clearly. You can see it right there. Thomas had glycocalyx damage, he used the restoration protocol and got off his meds. Margaret had arterial stiffness, she used the decalcification protocol and cut her meds in half. Robert had insulin resistance, he did the reset and got off all his meds. It's a perfect illustration. Identify the real problem, apply the right solution, and get a life-changing result. That's what happens when you stop chasing symptoms and start fixing the cause. When you strip everything else away, it really boils down to this one simple question. Is the goal to just manage a number on a screen for the rest of your life? Or is the goal to actually fix the pipe? So I'll leave you with this to think about. We've spent this whole time talking about a massive shift in perspective, from managing symptoms to actually healing the root cause. So the real question, the one for you to take with you, is this. In your own health journey, are you just managing a number, or are you ready to start healing your body?